I think this was one of the most shocking weekends in college football. And I know we've had this discussion repeatedly about the SEC and most college football fans who are not fans of the SEC being burned out and tired of hearing, well, the SEC is the best. Alabama goes to Vandy and loses. And it really wasn't that close. If you go back and look at it, is the SEC now damaged because of this loss by Alabama to Vanderbilt? Is the SEC no longer the best conference in college football? I say nonsense. I understand that there is vitriol and frustration and a burnout factor with how much SEC football we see and how many of the prime SEC contenders seem to always find their way to the top of the polls. But I hate to break it to you. This loss has no bearing on the hierarchy of college football. The SEC conference is the best conference in all of college football, bar none. Now, does that mean they have the best team in college football? It does not. But Jake, does one loss to Vanderbilt shake the foundation of the SEC conference?
Not at all. And I think, what I'm shocked that people aren't saying is this shows you just how damn good Nick Saban was at his job. I mean, he did lose games like this, but it had been a long time since Bama was in the conversation of like, hey, you lost the game that you shouldn't have lost, or like some shocking development out of Tuscaloosa. And I think, when I was watching this game, I had a big appreciation for just the level that Alabama had gotten to under Nick Saban. Now, with that said, I don't think that this is some terrible, indictment, or that Kalen DeBoer is just some awful head coach. And I certainly don't think it changes anything as far as the SEC being the best conference in college football. You saw a team in Vanderbilt come out and run triple option and dominate that game. I know it was, 5 points, 7 points. At one point, I think they were up 2 scores early in that game. Like, Alabama hung around, but I just think that this was your classic letdown trap game. Hey, we came out and, beat Georgia, and now we're, losing to Vanderbilt. Like, we've seen this before in college football. The only difference is it's amplified because it's Alabama and because it's the SEC. And anytime the Hyenas want to, take their opportunity, they're going to. Anytime an SEC team loses to a team they shouldn't lose to, the hate's going to be magnified. People are going to say the sky is falling. And I'm here to agree. I don't think the sky is falling. I don't think the SEC all of a sudden isn't the best conference. I actually think, to be honest with you, I think this is really good for college football. I think that Alabama being in the middle of it, having some pressure on them, needing to win, basically win out or be, if they're going to lose again, that it better be to one of the best teams in the country. I think that pressure is great for college football because this coming week, and obviously we'll get to it later in the week, you've got huge matchups. Like this was viewed as like some awful thing. And I just don't think it was an awful thing. Was it surprising? Yes, it was surprising, of course. But that doesn't mean that DeBoer should be fired or, Jalen Milroe, some terrible quarterback. Like, I feel like people, because it's the SEC and Bama, just were here for, hey, you suck, you're terrible. I'm happy you lost. And I just don't think that's what it needs to be.
Yeah, I think that it's only natural when you're replacing a guy like Nick Saban that you're going to struggle. I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think anybody should be questioning Kalen DeBoer. I think he's the exact right guy for this gig. I think that Alabama is still a very good team. And if you look at the poll where soccer writers who don't watch college football get to vote on, who the best college football teams are in the country, I think it's a tip of the cap that you only dropped to 7. But there's no question how much respect the Big Ten has across the college football landscape. And I think when we get into this discussion about, who do we actually think is the best team in college football? I think that's where things change a little bit. I have not seen a team that's better than Ohio State. And I know that, again, you guys are probably tired of seeing Ohio State at the top of the AP soccer writers poll, and I totally understand that. But I have not seen a team that is better than Ohio State. And what we saw from the Bucks against Iowa this weekend did nothing to change my opinion on that. Will Howard looks like an absolute stud. But again, I'm not telling you that somehow there's injustice that Ohio State's not number one. I think Texas is deservedly so number one. I don't know about Oregon. I don't think we've seen enough to truly understand who they are. I think we've seen them struggle mightily. But for all the Dylan Gabriel haters, sorry to disappoint you, my guy's legit. So I think when you look at those top, 10 teams, is Texas and Ohio State 1 and 2 in the country? Sure. But anybody who doesn't have Georgia and Alabama in the top 5 is out of their damn minds. I think after what we saw from Miami, my God, are you crazy to make that comeback against Cal? That was one of the most scintillating comebacks I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think it was for Miami, looking at this poll, I think that's a proper ranking for Miami. I think what I'm surprised about
Really?
is what you were saying is that Bama being outside of the top 5. I think dropping them to 7 it plays right into what I was just saying. Any other team losing that game stays inside the top 5. The top 5 should be any mix, and we can have that conversation, but it should be, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Bama,
But really, who has Texas beaten? You tend to get all
Michigan. They dominated Michigan early in the season when everyone said Michigan was good.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. You were there. You and I spent quality time over the weekend.
Right.
Watching Alex Orji be absolutely horrendous.
Right. And what I'm saying is that when they beat Michigan at that time, the public sentiment was Michigan was a national championship contender.
Come on. I don't think that, Matt. We definitely disagree on how Texas has garnered the number 1 spot. They're wildly talented. They are as deep as any ocean on the planet. I totally get it.
I guess my thing is you're saying you think Ohio State should be the number 1 team in the country, but
no, I said I think they're the best team I've seen this year.
Okay, so is that not the same thing?
It is not. I think the way soccer writers vote would have. I should probably stop being so bitter about the AP poll. I think the AP poll is voted on as a popularity contest. I think it's no different than the Heisman, or I think it's wild to me that we can't get a consensus from a group of people who truly understand college football. And I look at the AP poll and I say to myself, at least Ohio State and Texas got all the first place votes.
Right.
And I don't disagree that Texas would have to lose that number 1 spot now. Ohio State's the best football team I've seen this year.
Yeah, I guess I just disagree with that. I and it's not just because of the schedule. I think, I love Will Howard. Ohio State's, as talented as they come, but the reality of the situation is that Texas has been playing together for at least 2 full seasons now. I think Texas plays in the SEC, so it's a tougher road than playing in the Big Ten. Although I will say we're going to find out this week with Ohio State. Obviously, this week is the week we've been waiting for months as college football fans.
and months.
So, I think if to your point, Dylan Gabriel looked, legit this week, looked very good
again.
And I think that, if Ohio State goes to Autzen and beats them, it's going to be tough.
When?
Well, you could say when. I mean, I know that this is a Big Ten show and you're an Ohio State fan.
That's right.
But, if they're able to do that, then I think it's going to be tough to keep them out of that number 1
right
spot.
Now, today, who are you picking, Ohio State or Oregon?
I would pick Ohio State. Even as good as Oregon looked, I think that because Ohio State hasn't had a real high level of competition yet, we haven't seen everything that they've got. And I know that sounds crazy heading into what is this, week 6 now, I guess, for college football. Heading into week 6, I know that sounds crazy, but when you look at their schedule, Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, and Iowa, Iowa was never in that game. Iowa can't score points. So you're not in that game. And Oregon's the first true test. And I think, if they can beat Oregon, your schedule puts you in a place where you're going to play Nebraska and then Penn State. You're in a really strong position to go out and take the number 1 spot in the country. And, I think if I'm Ohio State, that's what I'm trying to do.
I am. I'm all in on Ohio State over Oregon, and I think again, we can sit here and we can vacillate,
pontificate
back and forth. But I mean, you look at the guys performing right now, and I'm just going to go back to Miami. Cam Ward is playing out of his mind. He's leading the NCAA in passing. I think it is. It's one of the best stories in the last several years.
Yeah.
What Mario Cristobal has now been able to build at Miami, and that they came back, and they've frankly been walking a tightrope. You go back to the Vatek ending, you go back to this Cal ending, and I don't want to hear about how there was linemen downfield. There's linemen downfield on every play for every team. There's linemen downfield, and I just don't think that you can be bitter and you can be upset that Miami is Miami, but they're unapologetically the Miami Hurricanes, and the U is back. And do I love watching Michael Irvin crawl all over football fields with a Miami polo shirt on? I don't. But frankly, the fact of the matter is Miami is better than your team is.
Well,
and
it is
remarkable.
It's a nice story. I mean, I if you're hating on Miami, I don't know like what you're, what you want out of college football. Like I think Miami being back is great for the game. I think it's clutch that Miami is back in a year when Florida State is absolute garbage and Clemson is about the same. Like, what would the ACC be if all three of those teams were nothing? And I think that's the part where I say, hey, like, yeah, I get it, man. That's 2 weeks in a row where, you've had late game, fireworks and had to come back and make these huge plays, but they did make the plays.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward did make the throws and they did win the ball game. So I think it's a great story and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I also think that when you look at the way that Miami plays, they're fast and physical. I think Cam Ward he's got to be leading the Heisman now. I mean, the games and what they mean to Miami are just so much more than what everybody else is competing. I don't even.
Hunter.
Ashton
like
Ginty
in terms of, well, yeah, that too.
I mean,
I just want to come out and say, I love the guy. I love Ashton, but bro, who are you doing it against, man? And that's what I can't get away from.
And that's the argument. That is the argument.
I can't sit here and say, hey,
that is the argument.
You're dominating. Like, let's be clear. He's dominating the competition.
He's almost 400 yards ahead of anybody else in college football.
I mean, that is respect.
He's got 1,000 yards rushing.
Respect. But at the same time,
it's Boise State.
It's Boise State, group of 5. We're playing NC2K on easy mode. Like, let's back that down a little bit and understand who he's playing.
NC2K on.
He is, dude. He's playing against not the best talent in the country. And this is the hard part, right? And this is where, G5 defenders going to get all pissed off, but it's the reality of the situation.
He did run for 200 yards and 3 scores against Oregon.
Yeah, he did. But ultimately, he again, even though it's against Oregon, it's not every week, bro.
It's Portland State,
dude.
Are you put some respect? Anybody know the Portland State mascot real quick? The Viking. You put some respect on the Vikings name,
dude.
It's the anyway. The point, if it was the Minnesota Vikings, we could talk. I don't disagree with that, but 1,031 yards is stupid good. Anyway, point being, I don't know that they're national championship good at Miami. But I think, again, you look at the AP poll this week, they're clearly getting some love. You are in a position where, you're number 6 in the country, and you look at last week, they were 8th. And now you are 6th, and you're steadily moving up. I get that. But I think there is it's not early anymore. Ask Oak State fan, who we're going to talk about in a minute. But it's not early anymore. And you start looking at the AP poll here. There's some real trends emerging, and I think Miami, the Hurricanes being legit.
Yeah.
And I would also like to point out this was not an ideal weekend in a lot of corners in this country. This was not a great weekend in the Big 12. And this was not a great weekend in the SEC. But here's a question for you. How good is the Big 10? Because I think, and I don't know if Michigan fan is in the room today, but that team's not good. And did they beat SC at home? They did. You can't take that from them. You're on your 8th quarterback of the year. I believe it's your 3rd. You're not good. And I think that Michigan being bad really hurts the Big Ten. And when you look up and down the standings in the Big Ten, I guess my question is, how much do you believe in a 6-0 Indiana Hoosiers team that's 18th in the country? When those wins are FIU, Western Illinois, at UCLA. Okay, UCLA's not good, right? They're 0-3, 1-4, dead last in the conference.
But still a lot of travel. Okay.
Charlotte, Maryland, at Northwestern. Northwestern, not good. 0-2, 2-3 in total. Is that a fluke? Nebraska, Washington, at Michigan State, Michigan, at Ohio State, Purdue. That's how Indiana finishes up.
Yeah, I think that you're going to be an 8-win ball club in Indiana, and that'll be it. I think you're going to lose to Nebraska. I think you're going to, Michigan. I don't know. That's a good test because if you've got any kind of offense, you're beating Michigan. And
then what do you make of Penn State? Because Penn State is also 5-0, 2-0 in conference. At West Virginia, that looks like a pretty good win right now. West Virginia's better than anybody thought they were. Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA. And now you're at USC, Penn State. You're at USC, at Wisco, the Ohio State, Washington, at Purdue, at Minnesota. You finish it with Maryland at home.
Yeah, I mean,
is that a 2-loss Penn State team?
I don't know. Ask me what's your belief in Lincoln Riley's ability to bounce back?
Well, he's got the exact same record that Clay Helton had at USC through the same amount of games. I mean, I think Lincoln Riley's coaching for his job. Yeah. It's crazy as that. I was talking to an SC alum yesterday, and I think that Lincoln Riley's coaching for his job.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I would not fire Lincoln Riley. I would not. But USC cannot continue to sputter the way that USC is sputtering. You've lost 2 of 3 at Michigan and at Minnesota. Now, it was a miraculous Minnesota team. But Minnesota is a 500 football team. Oh, wait, so are you.
Yeah.
And so the question again that's on the table is, how good is the Big Ten?
I mean, I think they are who we thought they were. They're the second best conference in the country. I'm not going to sit here and say they're better than the SEC. I think they are, this year, you don't have a choice but to say that the Big Ten, is slightly better than the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12's got some nice stories in it, but
yeah, Cam Rising's finger isn't one of them.
Yeah, I'm and I'm trying to be
so wait.
Jake
walks into the studio today, and I understand traffic's been worse driving to the studio, and I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Jake walks into the studio today. Does he say, "Hey, good morning, fat ass"? No. Does he say, "Hey, how are you? Hey, how'd you sleep? Hey, great weekend of golf." Does he say any of that? He said no. What did he say? I don't want to talk about Cam Rising's fingers today.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
that's what, dude. I am not even kidding you. I hadn't even cracked an energy drink or had a sip of water this morning. I am just getting settled into the studio, and homie's like, not even good morning. I'm not talking about Cam Rising's fingers.
Here I am.
I'm not talking about Fingergate. That's the first thing.
I'm not talking about.
Hey, man, how'd you sleep? Boy, really good to see you. Looks like you got some sun. How'd you sleep? I'm not talking about Cam Rising's fingers. That's the first thing guy says to me today.
Yeah, dude, I'm tired of it. I'm over it, dude. I'm done talking about. Oh well, Cam's a game time decision today. He tried to throw the football and he couldn't, and we're doing the best we can over here. Your starting quarterback is Isaac Wilson, and that's who you are. And again, I love the Utes when Cam Rising plays, but it's too often now. And I've flipped on this because I'm over it. And the problem is, and we're gonna get to this in detail in a minute, the Oklahoma State game doesn't mean a damn thing anymore because they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. So the fact that, oh, we won without Cam, like, you should have won that game 100%. And now it's turning into a thing where I have to sit here and be like, yeah, well, I'm looking at the Big 12 and, BYU's the best thing you got going. Like,
all right, before we light Mike Gundy's mullet on fire, how bad is Michigan? And is Michigan in a downward spiral? I don't remember which Michigan fan it was, but one of the Michigan fans came in on Friday and was like, "Oh, Alex Orji's going to break out." And
You're a homer is the first part.
Alex Orji got benched, and I think we were pretty nails. We were pretty much, well, we lost one bad game we picked, but anyway, the point is the Bears won. But the point is, I think that Michigan is in real trouble. You're not talented offensively. Your defense is good enough to compete. You're not talented offensively. You let a really inconsistent Washington team, because they are wildly inconsistent right now. You let an inconsistent Washington team come back and beat you in the fourth quarter. And is there any other well-known hallmark about Michigan than if you go to the fourth quarter with a lead, you're done? If you go into the fourth quarter and Michigan's beating you, you're not winning that game. Oh, wait, that's until Sharon Moore took over. And this goes back to the USC debate that we had.
Yeah.
The Texas debate we had. That USC's loss against Michigan looks really bad now. Texas's win against Michigan doesn't look so good. Looks like a win. Michigan's in a downward spiral, and I don't know how you fix it because, trust me, ask any Utah fan, Jack Tuttle's not that great.
No.
And now I would assume he's your starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I think, frankly, like I think the USC loss, was USC just not tackling. That's just a bad performance. If you tackle, you win that game. And I think that Michigan's going to go through it now. And we've been saying this for 6 months. Hey, you're not talented. You're not going to be good. And
I agree.
I understand as a college football fan and as a Michigan fan, if you're wanting to say to yourself, hey, well, Orji's going to be amazing, or, what's the spin on Tuttle going to be this week? Or like, okay, I understand, dude. I understand that your team's not good. You're going through it. You're trying to find any semblance of positivity. I totally get that. But let's not sit here and say, man, wow, Michigan's the same team they were, because they're nowhere near it. And I
it's
just
rough.
I don't think they're gonna be that caliber of football team for a long time. And that's simply because the NCAA is going to limit your ability to recruit and operate. And if you don't have talent in today's game, you're not going to win. And we see that across the board. That is that's not unique to Michigan. That's a universal known fact. Hey, if you don't have enough talent, you shouldn't even be on the field, bro. And that's where I look at Alex Orji and I say, hey, bro, you're Michigan and you have a running back playing quarterback. Like, let's be real about it. Like, and I'm not even hating. I'm being serious about this. This guy is a running back trying to fake it as a quarterback. And we're surprised he got benched.
Do you guys understand that for the season they have thrown for 690 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions? That's their passing statistics for the season. They're not good. And the problem is you're going to have attrition on defense that's going to significantly change the face of that defense. And Sharon Moore clearly has had his eyes on a different prize. And I think just trying to keep the football program together after Jim Harbaugh absolutely ravaged you and went to the Chargers. Sometimes you should watch what you wish for. You should watch what you wish for. Congratulations on that national championship that nobody believes was legit. You're a bad football team right now. Now, you are bad. You are not Oklahoma State bad. And listen, I like the passion of fans. But before I tell you why Mike Gundy should not be fired today, I'll let my fan, whoever this cat is,
random dude on Twitter,
rando bro,
random Poke fan,
we'll let him describe it for you.
I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. There's no point to, because this team is just hot ass. They're terrible. It makes no sense. It's inexplicable. Casey Dunn, Brian Nardo are both equally as bad. Alan Bowman isn't good. Zane Flores is either hurt, he isn't any good, or Mike Gundy just hates us all.
Yeah, Mike Gundy hates you all. How long have I been telling you that?
Yeah, I mean, we know this.
Do I get, from the hyenas out there, do I at least get some credit for saying, I think I told you back at Media Day 2 years ago that Mike Gundy hates Oak State fans? We don't need Oklahoma. We don't want to play Oklahoma. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Our entire brand and football, identity is tied up in Oklahoma.
It's true. Or was true.
It is true because you don't have an identity now. But this cat comes out and he listens to the show, right?
Obviously.
I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. There's no point to, because this team is just hot ass. They're terrible. It makes no sense. It's inexplicable. Casey Dunn, Brian Nardo are both equally as bad. Alan Bowman isn't good. Zane Flores is either hurt, he isn't any good, or Mike Gundy just hates us all.
Yes, he does. He hates all of you.
I just want to point out, that's only 30. That's 30 seconds of a 4.5-minute rant that this dude went on in one take. Like, that's how pissed off Poke fan is right now.
And I am going to go back to this clip right here. This isn't even the Ollie Gordon, it's okay that you got a DUI.
Who hasn't done that 1,000 times.
This clip right here. Ask yourself, is this guy qualified to be a head coach at a program the magnitude of Oak State?
That's what I told the players. There's no negotiating now. Portal's over. All negotiations history. Now we're playing football.
You can enjoy.
That was a huge mistake.
Because this team is just hot ass.
I'm telling you now, I do not believe that Oak State should fire Mike Gundy. Even if they don't win another game this season, he gets at least another year. If you are not having a critical conversation in his office today about the future trajectory of the Oak State football program, you're doing it wrong. I am again telling you, and listen, I know that we have ad nauseum talked about Mike Gundy on this show, and Pokes fans, I understand why you think I hate Mike Gundy. It's not personal to me. And it's what I tell you every day on this show. Take your emotions out of it. Has Mike Gundy done a good job in the last decade of building a championship caliber football program? He has not. Because you don't have Oklahoma to blame for things anymore. They're going to play a huge football game of consequence this weekend against Texas. Are you? No, because your season's over. There are no more games of consequence for you. That's the sad part about Oklahoma State football currently. Your season, this season, ended when you got your ass stomped by Texas in the Big 12 championship game last year. That's where this current season ended. Because what did you do? You did nothing. Oh, Texas isn't going to be here. Why do I need to go and find a better quarterback? Oh, Texas isn't going to be here. Why do I need to go upgrade my offensive line? Oh, Texas isn't going to be here. And we're not going to play Oklahoma. So why do I have to go and do anything different than I've done for the last 9 years? Well, the answer is you didn't have to. So you didn't. But what you did do is you defended Ollie Gordon getting DUIs. You said that the negotiations are over in NIL. And you promptly have come out and embarrassed the history and tradition of Oklahoma State football. And I will tell you again, the same thing that I have said for 2 full seasons now on this show. You have all the money and all the resources and all the excuses That's what you're living on. You're not talking about that you're well funded. You're not talking about the fact that you should be a dominant NIL program. You're not talking about the fact that Mike Gundy's not the guy who you've all, as Polk fans, said is some icon and some national championship caliber coach. You're not talking about that. You're making excuses. It's the official's fault. It's this guy. It's that guy. Stop with the excuses and let's get real about where Oklahoma State football is. Nowhere. You're irrelevant. That should tell you right there. You're irrelevant. How does that feel? How does that rest on your chest this morning? When you got beat by a program that's been calling for their head coach to be fired for 2 full years now. Neil Brown needs fired. And they just beat your ass. And it really wasn't ever that close. How does that feel today, Oak State fan? And I hope it stings. And I hope it doesn't feel good. And I hope you're coming to the realization that if Mike Gundy is not forced to terminate both of his coordinators, because that defense is as responsible for your issues as whatever that's supposed to be with a quarterback and a running back. I think we call it offense, but not really.
9 of 14 on third down as a defense.
Come on.
Gave up 9.
Come on.
You couldn't get off the field. And again, it's like, you know, I just don't know. Like, look, I understand that there's some of this where it's like, hey, you're an Oklahoma State fan. You know, you're going to be really hesitant to be real about the team. You would call it Oak State fan would call it negative. I'm calling it real. Hey, this is the situation, right? Like, I would agree.
Yes.
You're relevant. Like, your head coach is sputtering. Both coordinators should be fired. The fact that Ollie Gordon is a nobody this season is a lot on Ollie. He's obviously responsible for his performance, but a ton of it is on this coaching staff, and a ton of it is on Casey Dunn. And I think that ultimately, as an Oklahoma State fan, and this is kind of the angle I said, you know, that I brought out, you know, with the whole Michigan thing 6 months ago. You're Oklahoma State, man. You're a great institution. You are a Big 12 staple. Like, you could be a national championship contender.
Should be.
Agreed. But here we are talking about, hey, yeah, our season's pretty much over. You know, like this random clip that we've been playing, this fan clip. This dude goes on to say, well, we're all thinking, is Oak State even going to be bowl eligible? Are you going to be a 6-win team? Because I think you have to start asking that question. And no, I don't think it's outlandish. I don't think it's like a red ass hot take, you know,
I don't either.
You're hating take. I think it's a legitimate question, because typically with most football teams, you know, painting with a broad brush, you're either a defensive team or you're an offensive team, right? Like, one side of the ball is usually better than the other side of the ball. And you can, like with Utah, hey, you're a defensive minded team that just kind of has to scrap it together on offense right now. Right. But with Oklahoma State, you're not good on offense. You're unimaginative. You're boring.
Do you guys understand that Ollie Gordon is not top 50 in rushing?
How is that possible?
Here's some of the guys that have better rushing numbers. Damian Taylor from Troy. Fluff Bothwell. This cat's name is Fluff Bothwell.
Dude.
From Directional, Alabama. Has better numbers than you. Darrell Robinson from UConn. Kane Udo from Army. Better numbers than you. Tyler Huff from Jacksonville State. Better numbers than you. Savion Red from Reno, Nevada. Jaden Nixon from Western Michigan. All of those cats are far better. How about some of the guys that have double the production almost? You look at guys like DJ Giddens, who is sharing the ball at K-State. DJ Giddens. You look at Le'Veon Moss at Texas A&M. It's Oak State fan always gets on me about my Taj Brooks take. But is there any question Taj Brooks is the best running back in the conference?
No.
He is the best running back in the Big 12, and he ran Tech to a victory this weekend.
And the really sad thing is, I don't even think that Taj is the most talented back in the conference. I think Ollie Gordon's the most athletic, talented running back in the conference right now. The problem is that he is playing on a team that somehow, some way, after a Big 12 championship game appearance last year, is just, I don't even know what the proper label would be. Like, unimaginative
they're in disarray,
is a great label for the offense, but they're just a mess. And I don't know. I guess my big thing with Oklahoma State is I don't know how you were Big 12 championship game material last year, and now we're just like bottom of the barrel this year.
Again, you don't fire Mike Gundy, but I'm really hoping whoever he is accountable to, if there is such a thing at Oak State, that Mike Gundy is accountable to somebody. I hope there's critical conversations happening yesterday and today, because I don't know how you continue to do this at Oklahoma State. You deserve better than that.
Yeah.
You deserve way better than that. All right, let's get to you. Less of us, more of you. 20 minutes from the NFL. Let's run through your comments presented by our good friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app in the business. Download it on your phone right now. Use the promo code Monty to open up a new account at Prize Picks. Monty Monty. Open up a new account. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. It is the best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. Someones of us had a really good weekend.
Yeah.
On Prize Picks?
Yeah.
I did not. I should just give up the ghost. You had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, 2 for 3 on the NFL. I don't know what I was thinking with Justin Fields. He had a demon on Prize Picks for 224.5 passing yards. I thought,
it's the Dallas Cowboys defense. Yeah, that's what you were
thinking. That's what I was thinking, but no, didn't come through. But overall, good weekend, man. You know, one got my money back plus some. Like, we're in a good spot.
So when you look at how you have matriculated to maturity.
Yeah.
I just like using big words. When you look at how you have really, you've become kind of a successful Prize Picks player now.
Yeah, I go on runs. Like, typically I'll go like 4 or 5 wins in a row, and then, I'll put together a couple losses. But I would say, generally speaking, I use your formula, the old reliable. You play 2 out of 3, or you play a 3 and you do flex play. So you only have to win 2 out of 3. And the cool thing with that is Prize Picks. Once you get into it, you start to understand, okay, I need to basically, for you to win on Prize Picks, you need to find one goblin, which is a very easy win. That's like a really low barrier of entry. Hey, this guy should really knock that out every time. And then you need to find one more that is not a goblin, just a standard pick that you feel really good about. And then from there, you can kind of risk assess on the third one. So, like, as an example, over the weekend with this pick we're talking about, I had Derrick Henry on a goblin.
How about another run? What was that, 56 yards last night?
Dude. So I had him for on a goblin for half a rushing or receiving touchdown for Derrick Henry. So he hit that. I had Jaden Daniels on just a straight up line, no goblin or demon, straight up. 211.5 passing yards. He hit that at 238 passing yards. And then the Justin Fields one that I lost, I had him on a demon at 224.5. So I felt really good about the first 2. Took a risk on Justin Fields. It didn't come through, but that's okay. Still won. And that's what I'm talking about with Prize Picks, man. It's legit like 50 to this promotion where you start a new account, promo code Monty, $5 deposit gets you $50 back.
It's wild.
You can legit play on that money the entire season. And I always point this out too, because it's unique to Prize Picks. I don't know of any other platform that's doing it right now. If somebody leaves a game injured and you had that person, they do not hold that against you. It reverts back to, like in my case, I've had it happen where I'll have the 3 selections and one guy gets hurt.
Yes.
Then it's just a two selections. They don't count that as a loss.
Here's a question for you. Derek Carr, 213.5 against the Chiefs passing defense, which is top half in the NFL. I think that I'm taking Patrick Mahomes for more than 236.5. I think
that's in New Orleans, right?
It is it's in Kansas City.
It's in
Kansas. But here's the problem: who's catching footballs? Because without Rashee Rice, they're going to have to go into their depth chart, and old man Kelsey ain't that same guy.
Well, the question with the Derek Carr selection on Prize Picks for this game, is it's just a very simple question. Do you think Derek Carr on the road can eclipse that number in a tough environment in Arrowhead? And I agree, Kansas City is not as good as that defense is not as good as it used to be. I completely agree with that, but it's no cakewalk going to Arrowhead and doing that.
I would have to say that if you take him, don't you have to take Chris Olave?
Yeah,
I think you do.
But you can't. I don't think you can take both of them in one selection. I don't think they let you do that.
I just did. I am taking Patrick Mahomes more than 236.5 tonight. Chris Olave more than 60 yards, and Derek Carr more than 214 yards.
I'm going to take Derek Carr and a Goblin at 199.5. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, then I'm going to go Derek Carr on a heater.
Okay.
I'm not.
Xavier Worthy for 1 touchdown.
Well, that's the other one. If you don't take Olave, don't you have to take Xavier Worthy?
You have to.
Yeah, I'm flex playing that.
I am baseball tonight too, by the way.
There is a lot of baseball tonight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, are you guys? Yeah. Anyway. All right. That's my Prize Picks for tonight. Go and get it. Use the promo code Monty. Open up a new account at Prize Picks. Download the app. Open a new account. Promo code Monty. Deposit $5. They'll instantly give you 50 more. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy app. An hour of NFL talk coming up here in 15 minutes. First, let's go with, as always, if you want to get your comments read, you pay, because they always get read. Look at that. Lopes fan Gabe, a member for 21
Let's go,
months.
baby.
21 months. Let's go. Thoyer fans are garbo.
Yeah, we got to talk
We
about
got to
that,
talk about
dude.
that.
I
We will talk
agree.
about that.